The Elden Ring DLC release window now has some corroboration as well as a Steam update and a new merch announcement from a company pointing to a month of the year that was previously speculated about due to leaks. Elden Ring released in February of 2022, and speculation about the DLC has been swirling ever since. There were the arenas that we couldn't get into until the Colosseum DLC. There were parts of the map that were combed over, speculated about. There was lore and everything in between. And now we have an update hitting Steam along with another announcement just a few days ago. So first, I want to look at what happened on Steam. Second, I want to look back at the controller company that may have linked the release or leaked the release. And lastly, a new company made an announcement just 11 days into January. And I can't help but look at the fact that Elden Ring released in February, and that month is shaping up to be potentially where this lands. So if you like this kind of content, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss out on my live shows or my uploads. So it seems that the Elden Ring DLC is fast approaching, and first I want to look at an Insider Gaming article about this, and they posted this on January the 15th. New Elden Ring update suggests impending DLC release. Now, as we come down here, they say sharp-eyed Twitter user Ziostorm, a regular Elden Ring community contributor, has spotted a new Elden Ring DLC package in its PC files. The update first appeared just days ago. This further supports other rumors that the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC announced last year could be gearing up for release sometime soon. Now, keep in mind, they announced this, and there's been tons of speculation about, it's going to be at a state of play, and they're going to let PlayStation announce it, and I'll talk about more about that in just a moment. So Ziostorm is also somebody who has found some things that we're going to look at as well. So let's just look at what he found. So here's his tweet here, and obviously just posting the image of the DLC. And then if you look at Steam, you can see right here Steam DB unknown app 5 days ago. Now 2 years ago, you can see the EU pre-purchase DLC bundle that was added, and not since then. So very, very long time since they've done anything. So obviously this points to potentially them gearing up to do this. And he says, I'm not saying it's 100% Shadow of the Erdtree, but there's a pretty good chance that it is. Now, they continue here in the article, and they say, the file size has not been identified, and naturally the developers may not have any official announcements yet. It would be surprising if the developers waited too long to market such an anticipated DLC, but it is possible they're simply planning on a shadow drop. Now, the shadow drop is going to coincide with something I'm going to talk about in a little bit, like who's going to get to announce this. Now, again, Ziostorm also caught the leaked collaboration between Elden Ring and Thrustmaster Products back in December of 2023. So let's take a peek at that. So very similarly here, he's got his, picture of the Erdtree thing, and he's saying, this is a new collab between Elden Ring and a controller company celebrating the release of Shadow of the Erdtree. This claims that they can be synced with the DLC release on Elden Ring's anniversary, which is February the 25th. The page has been since taken down. So again, February, as I noted, is when Elden Ring launched, and you'll look here. Bandai Namco Thrustmaster Elden Ring collab, availability February 2024. They have an asterisk here. Sync with new Shadow of the Erdtree expansion release on the Elden Ring anniversary. I think that's a great time to do it, right? And they even sort of show the controller here, and it does say open to changes with Elden Ring branding policy style guide. This is a design agreed for sample submission by Bandai Namco. So this was a while ago, and we didn't really report on it. I thought, it could have been a mistake. It could have been a placeholder. I don't know about that. But when you see this thing hitting the Steam database, and you have some stuff right around the corner potentially with PlayStation, as well as the Xbox Developer Direct on the 18th, this is a time of year that suddenly is heating up for announcements and releases. It ordinarily didn't used to be, but now we've been noticing that more and more companies are happy to announce things in January and February, seeing February, March, and April as a great ramp up to get the year started. Then, take a little bit of a break maybe in May. June is when everything obviously really, really starts to heat up. End of May, June time period with Summer Game Fest and everything else. Now, back to the article from Insider Gaming. They say here, the leak teased early images of Elden Ring themed controllers. So fans speculated the February 25 date. Okay. Now, they're not the only ones that are pointing at this. So here's another one more recently. Renowned collectible company Pure Arts also teased that their first Elden Ring product would launch February 2024. So let's look at what they have to say. Tarnished, you've waited long enough. Our first Elden Ring collectible will launch in February 2024. Stay tuned for more details. Now, it just stands to reason that this is likely when the DLC is coming, February. It just lines up really well with the anniversary of the game. We have a controller leak. We now have another company. This isn't a leak, because the thing that really, I think, tipped me off that this was genuine is the page has since been taken down. So it got seen, everybody starts getting really excited, and then they take the page down. Now, if it wasn't the real date, or if it was a mistake, they would just simply say that, or they would update the page and remove it. But anytime you take something down, that always kind of feels like soft confirmation that that is in fact when it's coming. Now, Insider Gaming continues here beneath this part, and they said, evidence is slowly closing in on a major anniversary DLC release for Elden Ring. However, these are still only rumors for now. Elden Ring was an instant hit, a magnum opus of the studio that both celebrates the series and elaborates in compelling new ways. Celebrating just 1 year since release might seem just a bit too soon, but other games have, and Elden Ring definitely deserves the recognition. Now, I can't help but agree with this. I genuinely think this is a very, very good possibility. So what do I think? Well, before I talk about when we might see this announcement or who might get to do the announcement, when will it show up and all of that, I just want to talk about what I would hope to get from this DLC. Obviously, I would love for them to do something with the entire game that would include some kind of a boss rush or randomizer. I've continued to say that the open world exploration and the dungeons are some of the best content in Elden Ring. I am not a fan of the game in the second half. Once you get past the fire giant, I feel like a lot of the fights sort of turn in a way that I don't like them. I had a lot more fun with the game in the first half. It was just a style thing. Now, there were a lot of FromSoft fans that agreed with me. They felt very similarly about second half of the game not being quite as good as the first. But then there are plenty of people who just completely disagree. They think the game's a masterpiece. That's great. That's awesome. I love you for that. But I have consistently thought that they could do something really, really cool with this game. They could sort of do a randomizer of the dungeons themselves, a boss rush, even some kind of a rogue mode, I think would just be super legit. If you remember, they did something like this in Breath of the Wild where you're on this island and you suddenly don't have anything and you got to scrounge around, scrap up, and get your stuff. It'd be really, really cool to do something similar with Elden Ring, with all the different builds that are possible, all the different abilities. That would be, I think, a really, really neat curveball to throw at players and allow them to do that in the dungeon environment, especially because we kind of know what to expect in those places with the way that they progress. You could have it sort of randomize all the little parts and the pieces, and then, culminate in the final boss room, like an arena fight. I also think just a boss rush in general could be a lot of fun, because definitely I've been open to the criticism from people who felt like the open world aspect of Elden Ring hurt its replay value because you didn't feel like you just kind of like go back through and fight all the bosses. It's just such a big game and there's so many twists and turns and places that you have to go. There were people that felt that the open world aspect sort of worked against it. Now, what we're likely to get, I would think, is a whole new area and a batch of bosses, and that's probably it. And knowing FromSoft, it will be substantive. We've waited a long time for this. It will likely be very good. It will be praised. It will certainly bring me back to the game just to take another crack at it. I was really enjoying my second playthrough where I went for a no summons build and heavily leaned into using a sword and a shield, and using square off and using the sort of the counter that you do with the shield. I loved it. I was having so much fun with it. I was really, really focusing on breaking posture of bosses. I remember people telling me, you can't fight this boss this way, and I would sort of make it work. It was really, really enjoyable. Now, I'm not the guy that's going to run around in the game, naked, level 1, no hits. That's never been sort of my cup of tea. My favorite FromSoft game is Sekiro, and so I would, I think, dive right back in to this when they launch it. Now, the question is, when are we going to hear about this and who's going to get to announce it? Well, speculation has been that a PlayStation event or a state of play would be perfect for this announcement. For a long time, all the time, every time there's a state of play coming up, people are like, oh, maybe Elden Ring will be there. Okay, maybe Elden Ring will be there. Maybe they'll, announce their DLC and have a launch date. recent rumors are pointing to a state of play happening very soon. So I did a little bit of research. When does PlayStation like to do state of plays in the year? Starting in 2020 and each year since, they have done a PlayStation state of play in February. There's no consistency in when in February, sometimes as early as the 2nd, sometimes as late as like the 23rd or something like that. So no consistency in when it lands in February, but they clearly really like to do things in February, which got me thinking, this shadow drop of speculation from Insider Gaming. Well, maybe they do a shadow drop. That would be a huge win for PlayStation, and it obviously would shock the world if it was just suddenly available. Do I think they're going to shadow drop it? I actually don't think this is the right game to do that with. I don't think this is the right content to do that with. Elden Ring has marketing power. They have marketing muscle that they can flex. And I would think you'd want to have a trailer with some gameplay and a release date, some pre-order bonuses, things like that. I don't think you want to throw that away on a shadow drop. I think shadow drops work really, really well for maybe smaller games. I think the shadow drop of Hi-Fi Rush is probably one of the best we've ever seen as far as how it was received, how it sort of went viral, and everybody was talking about it. Every time I opened up Twitter, every time I opened up YouTube, somebody was talking about Hi-Fi Rush. So this could be, I think, the perfect event for the announcement, given that I'm pretty confident that Elden Ring's DLC is coming in February. It just lines up with everything that we've seen, the anniversary, the controller, this other company, and then they just suddenly, after a couple of years, push this update to Steam. So they're clearly gearing up and getting ready for something, and I would think it would be the DLC so you could go and pre-order it. I don't think they've put this DLC in Steam so they can show up at an event and shadow drop. Now, we're hearing rumors that the Xbox Developer Direct is going to have some crazy surprise announcement that nobody's seeing. I don't think that would be something with Elden Ring or an Elden Ring DLC, because the Xbox Developer Direct is more about their developers as well as what's coming this year, which is why there was immediate speculation about, oh, well, Indiana Jones is included. Does that mean that game's coming this year? That's why I don't feel like the Xbox Developer Direct is a good fit for an Elden Ring DLC announcement, because it's not their property, it's not their developer, and there's not going to be any exclusivity surrounding this DLC. I don't think we've heard a whisper about that, because that would be very counterproductive to take one of the most popular and most sold games of the year that it came out and then make the DLC exclusive to a platform or something. So I don't think that lines up with what the Xbox Developer Direct has sort of billed itself as being about their developers, being about their games, their property, and what's coming. I do think a state of play is a great fit, especially since PlayStation consistently has done state of plays in February, and it would be a huge thing. I think this year is so stacked. So for PlayStation to be able to say, like, hey, Helldivers is right around the corner, and also Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and also Rise of the Ronin, also here's the release date for the Elden Ring long-awaited DLC, here's your pre-order bonuses, and I think PlayStation loves to attach themselves to big marketing beats like that. I think they like to put big marketing beats and trailers on their YouTube channel. It's something that they've done regularly. So that's basically everything. That's the leaks, that's the Steam, that's the controller, that's the Pure Arts announcement about something they're dropping in February. That's when it likely lands. That's what I would like to see from it as a piece of content, what I would love to see them do with Elden Ring in general as a map and as a randomizer, a rogue mode, a boss rush mode, anything like that I think would be welcome and fun, and also what they're likely probably going to do with the content. Now, I'm sure there are Elden Ring channels out there that have all sorts of theories and inside scoops. I've seen some crazy theories about what they're going to do and what characters are going to come back into play. I'm happy with anything that they decide to do. I'm mainly interested in the combat and the boss fights. That's usually what I'm the most interested in. I've never really gotten deep into the lore because it's just not on the surface. It's not that apparent, and they had a lot of twists and turns and missions that would close off to you if you did something wrong and things of that nature. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave a comment below. There's a variety of ways to support the channel. I'm wearing some merch. You can go to our website and buy some merch, or you can become a member and come into the writer's room. These premieres typically roll over into a writer's room, so if you pick the $6 tier, you can come to that. You can get into our Discord as well. If you hang out enough in the live shows and watch enough, you'll probably get a gifted membership and then get to come to some of that as well. As always, though, the best thing to do is hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next video.